You are a good person. You are considerate. You are patient. You give people the benefit of the doubt, even when the doubt is overwhelming. You show up. You follow through. You put other people's comfort above your own almost every single time, and it is destroying you. Not dramatically, not all at once, slowly, in the way that only the nicest people ever get destroyed. By being endlessly available, by being the person everyone leans on and no one considers, by being so afraid of causing discomfort that you have swallowed enough discomfort to fill a room. Machiavelli, the man history decided to make a villain because what he said was too honest to be comfortable, had something to say to you, specifically, directly, and it is not what you expect. Here is the first thing you need to understand. Machiavelli did not hate good people. He pitied the ones who used their goodness as a substitute for clarity. There is a difference between being good and being passive, between being kind and being afraid, between genuinely caring about people and using that care as a reason to never hold anyone to anything. Machiavelli watched this pattern play out over and over in the courts and kingdoms of Renaissance Italy. The good men, the generous men, the men who believed so deeply in the best of other people that they refused to see what was actually in front of them. And he watched those men get used, get overlooked, get praised, and then quietly passed over for someone with half their character and twice their nerve. He wrote that a man who wants to act entirely virtuously in a world where not everyone is virtuous is heading for ruin. Not because virtue is wrong, because virtue without strategy is just another form of naivety. Machiavelli's writing points toward 3 specific patterns that destroy good people in competitive environments, and I am going to give all 3 of them to you right now. The first is what I call the approval addiction. The nice person needs to be liked, not just appreciated, not just respected, liked by everyone, all the time, without exception. And so they shape themselves around whatever the room seems to need. They soften their opinions. They agree a fraction too quickly. They laugh at the joke that made them uncomfortable because silence felt riskier than small betrayals of themselves. Machiavelli understood that the need to be universally liked produces a person who stands for nothing, and a person who stands for nothing is not liked. They are managed, they are smiled at and handled, and quietly excluded from every conversation that actually matters. The second trap is chronic overgiving. The nice person believes if they give enough, generously enough, patiently enough, eventually the world will recognize it and respond in kind. Machiavelli wrote that men forget the death of a father sooner than the loss of their inheritance. What he meant was this: people do not primarily operate on gratitude, they operate on interest, and the person who gives without expectation, without standard, without any signal that their giving has a limit, trains the people around them to expect the giving and notice nothing else. Your generosity is only valued by the people who know you could withdraw it. If no one believes you ever would, it is not generosity they see, it is furniture. The third trap is the silence of the uncomfortable. Something is wrong. You know it is wrong. Every person in the room knows it is wrong. And you say nothing. Not because you don't care, not because you don't see it, because naming it feels cruel, because disrupting the peace feels worse than absorbing the cost of keeping it. Machiavelli was unambiguous here. That silence is never kind. It is the quiet permission that allows the wrong thing to continue long past the point where it could have been stopped cleanly. So, what does Machiavelli actually advise? For the nice person, for the person who genuinely cares but has been using that care as a reason not to act, he would tell you 3 things. First, keep your goodness, but stop weaponizing it against yourself. Your care for other people is not a weakness. The way you have been deploying it is. Caring about someone does not mean absorbing every consequence of their behavior. It does not mean never naming what is wrong. It does not mean making yourself smaller so that they can feel more comfortable. The most caring thing you can do for almost anyone is to be honest with them, even when the honesty is uncomfortable, especially then. Second, develop your nerve. Not aggression, not hardness, nerve. The quiet, unshakable willingness to say the true thing in the room where everyone is waiting for someone else to say it. To hold your position when someone pushes back, not because you are certain you are right, but because you are certain you thought it through, and their discomfort with your answer is not sufficient reason to abandon it. Machiavelli understood that nerve is learnable. It is not a gift, it is a muscle, and like every muscle, it grows only through use. Use it in the small moments, and it will be there in the large ones. And third, enforce what you say you stand for. Not loudly, not repeatedly, once, clearly, calmly, and then through your subsequent behavior rather than your repeated words. Person who enforces their standard once, without drama, without punishment, without making anyone feel small, is not less kind than the person who says nothing. They are more honest, and in the long run, more trusted, because everyone around them knows that when they speak, it means something. Machiavelli's advice for nice guys is not stop being nice. It is stop mistaking niceness for a strategy. Your goodness is real. It is one of the most valuable things you have. But goodness deployed without clarity, without nerve, without the willingness to hold a line is not a strength. It is an open door that anyone can walk through and take whatever they need. The world does not need you to be less good. It needs you to be good and clear, good and precise, good and willing to say the true thing, even when the true thing costs you something. That version of you, the one who keeps all of the warmth and adds all of the nerve, is the version Machiavelli was pointing toward. Not the cold prince, not the ruthless operator, the person who is good enough to care and strong enough to act on it. That person cannot be used, cannot be overlooked, cannot be managed or handled or quietly excluded from the rooms that matter, because they take up the space they deserve, deliberately, without apology, and without ever losing a single piece of who they actually are. If this video said something you have needed to hear, then hit the like button, because there is a nice person somewhere who needs to see this, and the algorithm puts it in front of them when people like you tell it matters. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because there is more of this coming. The kind of content that does not flatter you into staying comfortable. The kind that gives you the clarity to actually move. The person who turns on the bell and shows up without being told to has already started. They are already taking up their space. Be that person.